Hey guys, my name is Cody. Welcome to my channel, JCS Projects. Some of you guys might have seen me over on my brother's channel, Dalton, at Pole Barn Garage. He has convinced me, along with a lot of you guys, if you're coming over from there, to start my own channel and start recording some of the things I do around here. First project is my 78 Firebird. It's kind of a cool little unique thing that had a 305 Chevy in it, but it's a factory 4-speed. No AC. I think it had a radio delete. Somebody has added one. It has no center console or anything. It's a pretty basic car. It was probably the cheapest V8 4-speed car you could have purchased. So I think it makes it pretty awesome. But I have since pulled the engine out of it, and we are taking this down to Tucson, down to the duct tape drags. So I have to try to get a motor in this car. And the motor I have decided to put in it is gonna make some people happy and probably make a lot of people mad because it's not a Pontiac. Since the car already came with a Chevy engine in it, I figured putting another Chevy engine in it's not gonna be any big deal. So, come on in here, I have that. It's a 454 out of an 81 one-ton truck. What happened to this engine is we had a cam go flat on it after installing a new Summit Racing cam. I put valve springs in it, and I put this new Summit cam in it. We've used these cams probably 15 times over the years, and the last 3, between my brother and I, had the cam go flat during the break-in period. I don't know why. We just got a bad rash of cams. Flat tappets are really finicky anymore because, well, they say it's inferior metals, but either way, we did it the same way we always had, and the cam went flat. So what actually happened, when it goes flat, is the lobe, the lifter didn't spin, and it just ground right there on the end of the lifter, just ground it flat. Heard a ticking noise during the break-in, and so I shut it down. So it's really only got like 20 minutes of runtime on this, so there shouldn't be, I know there's metal in the oil, shouldn't be a terrible amount, and it shouldn't have hurt any of the bearings, anything like that. I gotta pull this down, clean everything, flush it, put a new cam, which I got a cool cam for it. It is just a comp thumper cam. I just got it because I like the sound they make, not for all the power, just like the sound they make. So I'm gonna put the comp thumper cam in it, put it all together, clean it all out, flush it, change the oil a couple times, and I'm gonna make up a little run stand for it so we can run it, see if everything's good, and then if it's good, put it in the car and keep on going. Let's take this thing apart. All right, first thing here, you gotta get the water pump off of it, and then pull the damper, my balancer puller right here. And once we get this off and get all this together, then we can get the pan down and see how much debris is in the system. I don't think it'll be that bad, but anything's bad, but nothing that we can't get flushed out and cleaned out. You guys have never seen how these balancer pullers work, or it's actually an installer as well. You can pull or install with it, but these actually have a bearing in it instead of using just, people say a steering wheel puller, but it's got the bearing in it, so whenever you back this out, it spins nice and easy and you get a lot less friction. It slides them on and installs them really smooth. This one isn't an expensive one. It's a Harbor Freight job, but it works really well, and it really does. For the price it is, it's fantastic. You can do it without this, 100%. This just makes it a little easier and smoother, and if you're pulling it off multiple times or doing multiple engines, then it just makes it a little smoother. I glued that one on. Here's another thing on why you have to put thread sealant on cylinder head bolts for small block Chevys and big block Chevys. Not every bolt, but they all go into water jackets. So with the water pump off, you can actually see perfect the bolt right there, thread sticking out. You need to put thread sealant on them because they go into the water jackets. Not all engines are that way, but the big block Chevy and small block Chevy is. And some people get away with not doing it, and other people have water. All right, so now got to hold the outer And then you just turn this one. And it should just slowly walk the damper right off of it. Works pretty well. A little slow, but works real nice. All right, there you have it. It's off. Now, take this off and continue on. Sure. All right, so we got the pan off of it, and as you can see, it's got some metal in it. It's not exactly the smoothest, but we'll get it all cleaned out. But you can tell that this thing has no runtime on it with the new cam in it, because you can see some assembly lube right there. Come on, there you go. See some assembly lube right there that never even washed away. So it's got a new timing chain, double roller. I mean, it's got a lot of new stuff in it. New valve springs that I had to put in it for the cam that I had. So we'll get this cam out and we'll get a better look at it. So I got some of the lifters out of it, and you can see that one pretty chewed up on the end, and all the other ones popped out real nice. You can see how much nicer those are, and you can even see the ring from where the lifter spins on the cam. If they don't spin, they just grind flat in a matter of minutes. It does not take any time at all. But all the other ones popped out real nice. I got one side off at least. Got these off. So now I gotta pop this side off, and then once I do that, I can pull the timing cover or timing chain and pull the cam out, and we can take a look at that. And then we gotta wash everything. Pan, rockers, everything needs to be washed really well. And once we get all that in, we can put some oil in it. Doesn't really matter what kind, because right now I'm going to use it to flush out everything. And then we can spin the oil pump and push out everything, change the oil and drain it again, clean the pan back out before we do the final. If we have to do that a couple times, we got to do that a couple times. But I'll be right back. Got the lifters out, and the two center ones are good ones. Two outside ones are the ones that are flat, but you can see the height difference and the color. And like I said, that's 20-30 minutes of runtime, probably longer than that, because it did do the break-in no more than 45 minutes. No more. We drove around the block like once. It didn't even get the RPM up over 2,500, the break-in. That shows you how fast they grind down when they don't spin. And even these spun freely in the bores. So it didn't get stuck in the bore. It just didn't spin right whenever we started running it on the cam. And then you got the cam here. That's one of the ones that went flat. And that was a good one. So you can see the difference in coloration and how it ran. And then right here is the other lobe that went flat. So we stopped it pretty early because the cam itself definitely damaged, but it's not, I've seen them, the last one I had that went flat, I mean, it was round. It had completely flattened it and damaged it all the way around. So it chewed the lifter up, not the camshaft as much. So everything else looked good. Nice sharp peaks on everything else, but not that. So now it's cleanup time. so we got it pretty cleaned up, got the oil pan all cleaned out of it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna set the pan up with a couple of bolts, and then I'm gonna put some fresh oil in it, a new oil filter, and just spin the oil pump with a tool I got. You can use a cut off end of a screwdriver if you want to. All you gotta do is spin the oil pump shaft down there, just a flathead screwdriver, and get it to pump some fresh oil through this and see how much material comes out. And without taking it apart correctly and cleaning everything and probably replacing bearings, which is what should be done, this is about the next best thing. We've used diesel oil or diesel fuel before, since it's thinner and pushes everything out real well. I don't have any diesel fuel with me today, so I'm just going to do engine oil through a fresh filter and see what comes out. New filters over here. I bought a few micro guards just for this purpose. Go over here to my oil selection. So my girlfriend worked at Chrysler dealer, or Chrysler parts, and they were throwing all this away. 1540 diesel oil. Literally was just throw it in the trash because it sat on the shelf too long. So I brought home like 13 gallons of diesel oil, so that'll work perfect. This is definitely something you don't need, but I will tell you this, wrestling a fully dressed with heads big block around, well, I like to keep my guts inside me. And trying to roll one of these things over, I can't do it. It sucks a lot. Harbor Freight came out with this sucker, and this is the greatest thing. I love it. It's not cheap. I spent too much money on it and hadn't really got to use it yet. This is totally worth it. All right, this oil pump priming tool, super cheap. All it does is spline in with your oil pump, go down where your distributor goes. You can do it with the intake on, hook a drill up to it, spin that sucker. It works fantastic. You can use just screwdrivers. On the Chevrolets, they're just a slot. It's just a slot. So a cut-off screwdriver will work, but it's a pain in the butt to keep it steady without it slipping off. Fords, they have a spline drive, so you can actually put like a, I can't remember what it is, 8mm, 10mm socket on it, and spins. Make sure you make sure the socket stays on and not falls into the engine. That makes for a bad day. Slips right down here. I don't know how well this is going to work without a camshaft and lifters. I'm hoping it'll still just push out and I can roll the engine over by hand and it'll just flush out the lower. I'm not 100% sure. May have to put the old camshaft in just so I can cover up the bearing holes to force oil up into other spots. But oil pan's just on with a couple bolts. Don't need a whole lot of oil. A couple quarts probably. Maybe a little bit more than that. What I'm wanting. Just let it push around, push out what we got going on, get out as much as we can. This is definitely the wrong way to do this, but I'm gonna do what I can. Nice flow coming out of everything, and then roll it so we can try to get as much around all the bearings. Oh yeah, good flow. All the air's out of it. Let that spin and go through the filter. Woo! Woo, calm down there, buddy. That looks good. Although I should probably have the cam in it so it'll go through the galleys. Because right now it's not going through any of the lifter galleys. But time's money or something like that, right? Isn't that a saying? I don't know. This'll work. I like it. It looks good. Oil looks good. Should probably drain this into a clean container so I can at least see what's going on with it. But let's see here. That's pretty good. Oh, that's awesome. Nice clean. I was curious how much glitter would be in it from the, well, it's all probably embedded in the bearing. So, you know, you'll never see it out. But that's fine. It'll run great, probably. Hopefully. Yeah. Pretty clean. I'm pleased. Let's look at this guy. This is actually the first comp cams I've ever actually put in. Packaging is much nicer than the Summit. One of those fancy unboxing videos. I don't know what else to do with this except for take the crap out of the box. Ooh, look at that. It comes in its own little container. Nice. Ooh-wee. Let's get this out of here. What does this say? Probably something I'm not going to do. Failure to use CompCam's break-in oil and CompCam's break-in oil additive during the break-in process could result in premature camshaft failure and may void the camshaft warranty. Oh, fairly solid advice. Probably not going to take it. I don't have break-in oil. I got diesel oil. So I actually decided to look at the instructions a little bit. I may not be a very smart man, but you see that? Requited fur. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm gonna guess it means just install it and we see what happens. A little bit of assembly lube. A lot of it of assembly lube. Comp has their own stuff. They want you to put on the lobes and on the gear. Let's put this on liberally. All right. Put it in. Get it lined up with that other bearing. There we go. Go to the next. And then an oil pump, or fuel pump. Now for this last one, we'll stick a screwdriver in here and walk it on. A little bit of screwdriver in here. Beautiful. You got 2 dots. So you got to line up whenever you. Ooh, man, that stuff is gooey. Let's wipe that off a little bit. That one. This one is for doing your cam timing. Take this, and you got another dot here. So with that straight down and that lined up there, your dowel pin is to the right. Well, so let's roll the cam. I like to take a little bit of Loctite. We'll just do it that way because the end's all plugged up. So I can't actually use the. So you want blue. You don't want to use red. Unless you don't ever feel like taking this back apart. It'd be a pain. Put the Loctite on those two. Take this one back out. Put some Loctite on it. Perfect. Doesn't take a whole lot. Just a little bit. Now, there is a torque for these, but we're not going to torque them. We're just going to get them good and tight. I'm kidding. You can calm down now. It's 20 inch or 20 foot-pound. As you can see, got the 2 dots lined up. Cams in, on. Now, we can put the lifters in, and I can put my push tubes, and I'll soak those in some oil. And if anybody has better ideas on how and what to do, and I did something terribly, please let me know. I am absolutely no expert. Put the push tubes in, dip in oil. Remember, big block has 2 different lengths, short and long. Make sure you don't do what I just did and put it in the wrong spot. Valves are all adjusted. You should have generally the same stick out on every one. If you've got something drastically different, you need to go back and re-look at your adjustments. It's hydraulic lifters, so they are very forgiving. You can go anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 of a turn after they seat. they can adjust as they go, but they are very forgiving. All right, here it is. All assembled, ready to get set on the run stand, have manifolds and distributor stuff put in it. Won't do that until it gets on that. Yeah, we're ready to go. Looking pretty good, pretty happy with it. Went together pretty nice. So once we get it down on the run stand, we can finish putting together. I bought an ICT billet, alternator bracket, and those were relatively cheap. I think both of those accessory brackets were like 89 bucks together. And then these were eBay, and they line up really nice. So it'll have aluminum pulleys, except for the alternator and power steering pump will have steel pulleys, but it'll have aluminum brackets, so it should look pretty nice. All right, another day out here. I'm here with my buddy Andrew. We are trying to make a run stand out of this first attempt of a bulky failure of a run stand. So now what we're gonna do is make it much smaller, basically just to hold a radiator and a battery, and then I can put the gauges and hang the wiring on it, and then we will just have a little portable stands that we're going to use that over there to bolt it to. Then we can roll whatever engine we want to up to it and just have to put hoses on it. This is what we are doing today, so once we get the big block running, we can test it and make sure the cam doesn't go flat again before we put it in the car. Now, got it all cut down. Kind of seeing how we're gonna do this. And then I think we'll end up cutting it right here, so all this is gone back here. So it'll just be this little portion plus a place for us to put a battery. So our cuts weren't exactly square, but it's touching at the bottom. And it's gonna be good enough for what we're doing. Because as long as this thing doesn't fall over, which my confidence level is not very high on that, we'll be fine. It'll work great. We'll just have to fill that with, I don't know, maybe I'll do my patented bolt fill. I don't know. Didn't kick out.
It didn't. That is, it is fixing that problem.
Yeah, so our welder's acting up. So he's not able to weld it as hot as he wants to because it keeps overheating. But it'll be fine for this particular project.
If it falls apart, it's not my problem. That's not terrible.
Yeah, it is. We're using a bolt.
That bolt's as strong as this angle.
That'll hold.
Beautiful cut of glass.
It's tied together, and for this, that's not really gonna carry any weight. It's not gonna fall apart. So now you're kind of seeing what we're getting at with here. Battery just sitting down in there. He's getting a hole. We can get another bolt in. So we got 3 bolts across the top. And then we're gonna put 2 little stanchions across here, hold the bottom of the radiator. Battery down here. And then I'll be able to put my gauges up top. And that will be the run stand. All right, so by some movie magic here, this is kind of the end result of this pieced together thing. Now I know that fan is not quite covering the radiator, but I think for its purposes of keeping an engine not under load cool, I think it'll be okay. If it was under load, then no, I don't think that would work, but it's got rest, it's sitting there, it moves, got a little place for battery, whatever size battery. I was gonna make an actual tray, but who knows what battery will actually ever be sitting on this thing, or if it'll be a jump pack or whatever ends up getting used. But now all that's for this part is just the wiring portion. And then we got to make the stand that the actual engine is sitting on. We've made a little bit of progress and have a little bit of a contraption going here, but got it pretty level of where we like the engine sitting. And we made these feet that had to kind of warble out some holes. So we just put a bunch of washers on it and tacked it. But it gets us sitting nice, and we're going to weld these down to this cart. And then on the front, we will put the engine mounts on it and then put the same type of stanchion down there and then just put the through bolt to hold it on. And that'll actually let us put a small block or a big block, because they'll be sitting in the same spots on this thing, and run it on our stand. So what chord do you think this is? It's like a nice instrument. So we're idiots, and this is a great stand, but not so good if I want to put a starter on it, because once we got the flywheel on and we got it clearance enough with our giant washers that I think it'll be all right, except the snout of the starter's got to come out somewhere around here so it can actually contact the flex plate. So what we're going to do is jump to some other piece of rusty metal we have, cut this foot off a little bit down here, make it match that, and then just put it side by side and weld this to here and then cut it off, and then we'll be good. I think that'll get us where we need to be.
Gotta take the safety off.
Yeah, this is what happens whenever you don't have a tabletop bandsaw. You mount it on the wall. All right, now see if I can weld. That is still definitely not great, but looks a heck of a lot better than what we had going on earlier today. There we go. It is setting on it, and it actually rolls around. It actually looks pretty sturdy.
It is. It ain't going nowhere.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, and let's roll it over here. Wheels still don't roll perfectly,
But they roll over everything.
but they are rolling. That's not bad at all. Now I can have multiple engines, use that as a stand whenever we're not running anything, and it doesn't take up a bunch of space. That can go up against the wall. And now all I gotta do is get hoses that go, and that's it. That's awesome. That will work great. All right, guys, we're working on getting this thing mounted. I got the old engine off, and then I started putting my gauges on. I don't have anything wired up yet. That's actually what I'm getting ready to start doing here in a few minutes. And I got an old bent up tack starter, ignition on, fans, the cheapest set of gauges I could find off of Amazon. I mean, they look okay. They're kind of chintzy feeling, so hopefully they'll work. Everything is self-tappered on. I don't think we would have this project would be proper without a bunch of self-tappers, so I think we're going good. Ooh, I do want to show you this. I've got this, is that ICT billet, and it fits nice. I am really impressed with it, especially for the price it was. Like 49 bucks, 48 bucks for this one, and then 40 bucks for the one for the power steering. I don't have it on yet, but if it fits like this, it's gonna be awesome. We're getting pretty close. Got to put the headers on. I've got some exhaust pipes and tubes to run out the back. Got to run my fuel line down here and run it to fuel can. I actually had a boat tank that was going to work perfect that I have been keeping around here just for this, that I decided to go fill up at the gas station. And like everything else, I've been keeping around something that apparently has a hole in it, and it leaked out all of the fuel in the bed of my truck. So that's fun. So now it'll just be a gas can with some hoses dumped in it. Once we get that and get some fuel to it and get some exhaust on it, we can start this thing. Oh, and fill it with water. Water would help. I am not quite sure what I have created here. All I know is it's good. It is all ready to go. I've got a timing light over there. I did already cheat a little bit. I fired it up to make sure it started and then shut it off. That's all I have done with it. So it is close enough in time that it'll run. We are ready to try to run this thing. All right, now if I can remember what the switches do. Ignition, fan. Little timing off. Timing off a little bit. The next morning, because it got busy after running it yesterday and couldn't finish up doing what I wanted to do. But as you might have noticed, any of you guys screaming that that fan's not big enough and you're an idiot, you're 100% right. That fan could not keep up with it because it's covering part of the radiator and totally useless the other parts of the radiator. So yeah, I definitely messed up on that one. it was able to keep up once I was able to get my little squirrel cage fan up to it. We were able to keep around 205 degrees, which isn't bad. Still not as cool as I'd like, but still not bad. On top of all that, but I think it hit a huge air pocket and it exploded. Rusty water, which apparently this radiator that I found in a field, it was full of rust. So yeah, that's great. None of it went well. I could hear a ticking noise. But this morning I'm gonna pull the valve cover off of it. I'm gonna see if all the rockers still seem tight. I think I might have messed up on this one, guys. We'll see what happens here in just a few minutes. All right, let's get this apart. Hopefully I'm just being paranoid, but not 100% sure on this one. It did not go well. So if there's something wrong, then I think my poor truck gets pulled down and the motor from it goes in the Firebird just so I can have something to drive. But, which will be funny because that's the motor out of the Firebird. I had to put in from the Firebird because this cam went flat last time. Trying to do the same trick. So, it's fitting, right? Well, unfortunately, it looks like I did screw up. Overheating it, not being able to run it at the right RPM, all probably had contributing factors for the way they want you to break them in, because I had to shut it down in the middle of doing it, and that's why. In theory, it could have just come de-adjusted, but it does not seem like the adjuster's backed off at all. So I don't think that's it, and whenever you wipe your finger, she's got some nice metally pieces. So I'm getting ready to pull the intake back off of it and then lift up those two lifters. And if this is messed up again, then I'll be pulling the engine out of my truck and putting it in the car so I can drive it. Okay. Radiator choice was a bad idea. That should have been rinsed out. A lot of rust. Poor decisions were made. But we go on, we see what it is, and then never purchase a flat tappet cam because apparently I can't put them together. Not anymore. Done it a lot in the past. Bead wrench. Can't take nothing apart and put it together without one of these. See if we can get these two. They were still tight. The lock nut feels pretty good on it, so definitely don't think it's backed out. Two of them at least. Two of them at least went flat. Let's take a look down in here. I push up on it, get my finger in there, but she wedges. That lobe went flat, and that lobe went flat. So break-in procedure is 1000% critical. It went wrong. And sometimes even if you do everything correctly, which I didn't do on this, it still goes flat, man. There's no trying to shortcut it this time. If we do this motor again, which we will, I'll get it back in and it'll probably end up going in the Firebird at some point in time because now I have everything to put it in. Or back in the truck. Heck, I don't know. I have to do bearings. There's now two cases of metal gone through the system. This one literally ran for probably 20 minutes. That's it. 20 minutes. It did not run any longer. I've got the timestamps on my camera, and I think it was like 9 minutes one time and 11 minutes the next time of runtime. So that shows you how fast it goes flat. If you don't do everything exactly the way the manufacturer says, I used the additive, I used good oil. I probably should have got some more lube that went on the camshaft. I'm guessing it was the running it pushing the coolant out and overheating it, right off the get-go to where I had to stop it mid, then get it all fixed back up, and then run again. I mean, I guess that's what did it. So you need to be able to fire it up and run it up to 2 to 2,500. The other thing they want you to do, or you can do, is if you have valve springs, which most of them you're going to have valve springs, aftermarket valve springs with higher seat pressures, you are asked to pull the inner spring out so it's got a lighter seat pressure and it doesn't push as hard on the camshaft. And to help break in the cam, then you take the valve train apart again, put your full dual valve spring in, and go. I didn't, and I ran it both times with the full seat pressure, so maybe that's what did it both times. Maybe it wasn't the overheating. Maybe I just had too high a seat pressure to break in, and I really needed to follow that, and I decided to cut the corner on that one. Little defeated feeling, but 90% of what makes a person is how you react to when something goes wrong, or when you mess up. You can either waller in it and be upset about it, and not accomplish anything and not move on, or you can say, shit happens, figure out another way, and that's what we're going to do. We'll be taking apart my truck, which is unfortunate, but we'll get it back together. And we'll be putting the motor from that in the Firebird. We have a plan. We can get it done, and we'll get down there. I'm going to end it with that one. Thanks for watching, guys. We're going to keep it the what not to do video and keep on moving on from here, and I'll have some more videos of taking the engine out of the truck here, and that'll probably be what's next, and then cleaning up the Firebird and putting it in there and going down to Tucson with my brother. It'll be a good time. We'll keep it up. I've got a bunch of stuff to do on that truck. It's a 81 crew cab Chevy. Now motor is on the list for that. But I've got Ace vintage air AC system that I bought the last time we went to Tucson that I never put in. I sold a car just so I can buy a full AC system and never used it. So I've got an air conditioning system sitting on the ground. So we'll get all that together, and I got a different bed to put on it and springs and all kinds of stuff. So we got a lot of content to come, and thanks for hanging around.